The Money Battlefield, 5 levels from Recruit to General Entero Ducton. Step onto the money battlefield in this world. There are battlefields where you don't see blood and don't hear gunfire, yet fierce fights unfold every minute and every second. That is the money battlefield, a place where each of us, whether we like it or not, is a soldier. You may be a recruit who knows nothing yet, a fighter learning to wield financial weapons, or someone on the path to becoming a commander who directs massive flows of capital. On this battlefield, the winners are not the strongest in muscle but the sharpest in mind, those who can see far, keep strict discipline, and know how to command money. Because money is the blood of the economy, the fuel for every activity, from the smallest individual to the largest nation, that if you step onto the battlefield without a strategy or plan, you'll become target practice, someone else's profit. But if you learn to climb each rung, recruit, fighter, commander, general, and grand general, you'll realize the financial journey isn't only about making money, it's about mastering the game, seizing freedom, and ultimately achieving the position of one who orchestrates the entire field. So treat this not merely as an audiobook, but as a map of the money battlefield, showing you where you are now and where you must go to advance to higher levels. Level 1. Recruit. Imagine you're a brand new recruit. The moment you step into the barracks, you feel out of place. You don't yet know how to hold a weapon, you're not used to discipline, and your head is full of daydreams. Many new soldiers think that just wearing a uniform and holding a gun is enough to win battles. In reality, recruits are often the first to fall. It's the same in the world of money. Recruits are people just starting to earn, new graduates, fresh employees, or first-time entrepreneurs. Your pocket might hold your first month's paycheck, a few million dong, or a modest savings. You think you're ready to get rich. But this is the most dangerous stage, because recruits usually don't know how to keep money. Traits of a financial recruit: emotional spending. Friends buy a new phone, you want one too. An ad promises a get-rich-quick course. You sign up immediately. No plan. You spend whatever you earn, with no concept of allocation or saving. Herd mentality. Friends jump into crypto, you jump too. Someone says buy land, you rush to borrow and buy. No risk distinction. You think investing is gambling. Or the opposite, you assume every opportunity is a sure win. Survival lessons for recruits in the army. Recruits first learn basics. How to stand at attention, how to move, how to hold a gun, how to avoid bullets. In finance, the first thing you must learn isn't how to make lots of money. It's how not to lose money foolishly. Point 3. Survival skills. Track your spending and know where every dong goes. Apply the 50-30-20 rule. 50% for essentials, 30% for wants, 20% for saving or investing. Build an emergency fund with at least 3 to 6 months of living costs. This is the armor that keeps you from collapsing when life hits. Traps that make recruits fall in battle: easy credit, consumer loans, swiping credit cards recklessly, pyramids and scams. A hunger for quick riches makes you easy prey for Ponzi schemes, hype investing, buying what you don't understand, simply following others' tips. Illustrative story: picture men a young worker earning 10 million dong per month. In the very first month, Min buys a new iPhone on installment. Then, hearing friends say stock X will double, Min throws all savings into it. A month later, the stock drops 50%. Min panics and sells at a loss, while the phone payments continue monthly. Min feels defeated and loses confidence. This is the classic image of a recruit lacking proper training. That's why, before going to war, you must learn to survive. Mindsets to build patience. Wealth isn't fast. Finance is a marathon, not a sprint. Discipline. Money is like an army. Without discipline, things fall apart. Self-education. Read books, listen to audiobooks, learn from those ahead of you. End of level 1. At the recruit level, you're not yet the one making lots of money. But you've learned how to keep what you earn, avoid debt traps, and stay out of get-rich-quick illusions. This foundation carries you into level 2, where you begin turning money into a tool, not a burden. Level 2, Fighter. Turn money into a weapon. When a recruit learns to survive, it's time to hit the training ground. Practice shooting, drill in formation, learn teamwork, and master the weapon. On the money battlefield, the fighter has nailed the basics: budgeting, an emergency fund, purposeful saving, and allocating a small portion to investing. More importantly, fighters are no longer ruled by impulses. They put discipline first and planning above instant gratification. Opening note: the difference between recruit and fighter. Recruits learn not to lose money. Fighters learn to make money work for them. This is a major shift. From immediate consumption to optimizing cash flow. From passive to proactive, fighters start using tools: high-yield savings, basic investment accounts, appropriate insurance, and smart debt repayment plans. But what truly defines a fighter is discipline, automating savings, dollar-cost averaging, and refusing to chase profits at any cost. Setting concrete financial strategies. The fighter doesn't just have an emergency fund, they build a strategy. They define clear 1-year, 3-year, and 10-year goals. They allocate capital to liquidity, moderate risk investments, safe assets, and skill building. They apply the principle of paying yourself first, automatically routing a portion of income to savings and investments the moment it arrives. A vignette. Imagine Thursday, 28, office worker. After 6 months, she auto-transfers 20% of income to an ETF, 10% to the emergency fund, and lives on the rest. 2 years later, her capital has grown steadily. Not spectacularly, but safely. She has learned that consistency beats intensity. Core tools a fighter must master include ETFs or index funds, mutual funds, life and health insurance, retirement accounts, and investment in skills. Risk management techniques. Fighters don't avoid risk, they manage it. They diversify, keep cash buffers, understand volatility tolerance, and apply stop losses when stock picking. Illustration. Hui once lost money on a hot stock. Instead of panic selling, he restructured smaller positions across names, a focus on cash flows and reasonable valuation. In 18 months, his portfolio recovered and surpassed its old peak, building a second income stream. Fighters begin constructing side incomes: freelance, consulting, online business, affiliate marketing, renting out assets. The key is multi-income thinking. Never rely solely on a paycheck. Psychology and emotion control. Fighters control fear of missing out and fear of uncertainty. When markets fall, they don't panic. When markets rise, they don't get drunk on euphoria. They pre-plan scenarios and stick to the plan, closing the fighter chapter. The fighter steps beyond scarcity thinking. With a plan and discipline, money starts making money. But limits remain: a narrower field of view, limited macro understanding, and unrefined leverage. That sets the stage for the commander. Level 3: Commander, Management, Growth and Leverage. A commander leads a unit, assigns tasks, optimizes formations, and uses each person's strengths. In money terms, commanders don't just manage personal assets. They use measured leverage, build systems, invest strategically, and defend the gains, from individual to system. At commander level, you think in systems. You automate taxes, savings, investing, and allocations. You build a business or invest in scalable models. You assemble a team of partners, accountants, and legal counsel. Commanders don't do everything. They delegate, understanding and using leverage. Leverage is a double-edged sword, amplifying both gains and losses. It can be financial leverage, time leverage, or knowledge leverage. Commanders calculate cost of capital, interest rates, payback schedules, and contingencies, active investing, real estate, businesses, and private equity. At this stage, channels grow more complex. Real estate generates rent and appreciation. Small businesses can be acquired or invested in. Private equity and venture capital bring high risk but high reward. Large-scale risk management. Bigger portfolios bring systemic risks: legal, tax, liquidity, and counterparty risks. Commanders build safeguards with contracts, corporate structures, insurance, and flexible entities, financial leadership skills. Commanders must communicate to persuade, hold strategic vision, and negotiate well. Illustration. After years as a fighter, Lon founded a wellness brand. She hired a general manager, a marketer, and a part-time CFO. With time, leverage, and modest borrowing, she expanded a small chain. She no longer micromanages. She commands triumphs and pitfalls. Commanders can leap forward, yet face dangers: over-borrowing, poor partners, and weak governance. The lesson is to build controls, transparency, and exit plans. Level 4: General, Influence and Global. Strategy. Generals don't just command a unit, they command forces. In money terms, a general wields significant influence, running large funds, moving markets, and connecting across the financial ecosystem, banks, funds, regulators. Big system thinking. Generals think at system scale, monetary policy, inflation, business cycles, relationships with regulators, central banks, and funds. They forecast capital flows and market reactions. Multi-layer portfolios and hedging. Generals build all-weather portfolios with gold, currencies, government bonds, blue-chip stocks, real assets, and derivatives for hedging. Allocations adapt to cycles, policy impact, and lobbying. Generals can shape law and regulation through advisory boards, funding research, media influence, and direct policy consultation, building and running large funds. Hedge funds, family offices, sovereign funds. This is where generals exercise power. They control strategic allocations, private deals, advanced risk systems, liquidity, and quantitative models. Illustration. A once small family office grew large over years, accumulating stakes in logistics, real estate, and tech startups. With bank relationships, they accessed favorable credit and private placements. They pursued not only returns but control of the supply chain, generals, and ethics. Power brings responsibility. Pitfalls include market manipulation, insider trading, or misleading promotions. Sustainable generals use influence for long-term value, not short-term grabs. Level 5. Grand General. Control of the battlefield. The Grand General embodies supreme battlefield power. These are individuals or institutions capable of steering capital flows at national or transnational scale. Central banks, multinational conglomerates, sovereign funds. At this level, who controls money flows controls power is not a slogan, it is reality, global influence capacity. A grand general can redirect an industry through massive capital allocation, affect currency and asset prices, and influence national policy via lobbying and relationships. Architecture of financial power. At the top, financial power is a network. Central banks control money supply. Sovereign funds invest strategically. Multinationals command supply chains. Grand generals structure assets to optimize taxes, profit flows, and global risk. Win-win strategy and durability of power. They don't just hold power, they build its infrastructure. They develop ecosystems, invest in media and education, and foster loyalty through patronage when power is abused. Great power can distort markets and politics, creating bubbles, manipulation, or harmful entanglements. Grand generals must shoulder moral and legal duties not to abuse power. Grand conclusion. The road from recruit to Grand General. The journey from recruit to Grand General isn't just about a rising bank balance. It is a transformation in mindset, skill, leadership, and responsibility. Each level has its rhythm. Recruit. Learn to survive. Fighter. Learn to build and preserve capital. Commander. Learn to manage and use leverage. General. Learn to influence systems. Grand General. Understand and shoulder the responsibilities of great power.